Welcome back to Minnesota Meta in round 3 of the June Game Night Kit. This is a 3-round tournament that we do once a month at FFG. We're going to be doing the first match today, and we'll have match 2 next week. This is, as I mentioned, our monthly Game Night Kit at Fantasy Flight Games in beautiful Minnesota. Why not? And we are going to be, today we're going to play with Andy. And Ian. Andy will be playing his Quetzal deck that we saw earlier against me. Quetzal with Keyhole. And Ian, we don't know yet. We know it's HB, Engineering the Future, so he'll get a credit every time he installs. Tony, of course, gets to break a barrier, break one subroutine once per turn using his ID. This week, it is just me, Tyler. I did record this previously with Tim. I had some issues with the audio file, so I'm re-recording it now by myself. So Tim will be back. Tim did a great job commenting, but I lost it, so it's gone. So now you just got me. Ian is going to do a pretty standard opening, ice, and does he have a hedge fund? No. Throws down an Eve campaign, no? For a future turn economy at least, or a huge money sink for Tony if he decides to run it. See, we got Tony on the left, and Ian will be on the right. Tony's going to share gamble. Looks like he's holding Keyhole. He also had that opening hand against me, which I left R&D open, and he just wrecked me. He decided to run HQ, try and get Ian to spend some money probably. Runs R&D, sees the same. So a double Eli's for Ian. Really kind of making that not worth it to keyhole in. You got to keyhole and then spend 2 clicks to get in. You really only get to see 1 card a turn. Tony does spend clicks 2 and 3 to get in, sees a turn. I think that was a turn. Yes, it was. Which I believe he slaps down immediately for a credit. And then just double credits. Tony runs. Ian can't afford to get to res it, so we see the Eve campaign. Tony's not going to waste his money on that. Not really sure on that, actually. Ian's broke at this point, so keeping money away from him might have been a good move. Tony's going to parasite the HQ ice. Considering he's holding Quetzal, might have been interesting to put it on top of R&D, or put it on the Eli in front of R&D instead, but runs in and gets a beta test right off the top of R&D, just a single access, just for fun, and he got in. Remember, he does get to use Quetzal as his ID, gets to break the first click, so really it's only 1 click to run and 1 click to break the Eli's once per turn. So he's been doing that, click 3 running with click 4 breaking the second Eli. Ian doesn't like that, so he sells another piece of ice and credits up, sitting on 5. Not a whole lot of... I don't think there's too much interesting ice in Ian's deck. This, I should mention, we are up to Chrome City in the Santan cycle. We do not have the underway yet. So there could be a crick, although Ian's got nothing to install. But in an HB deck that is relying on assets, crick can be pretty interesting. Gets out a Sentry Breaker. It's not a very good one. It just starts so weak, but it does. It is in faction, so I think he's just trying to get in a few times. Runs the hand, spends a click, and uses his Quetzal ability. Sees a piece of ice. End of 20's turn, he's going to res the Eve, get 2 of those back, which is kind of nice. You really see how nice the Team Covenant tokens are for something like this. You can just pull one of those 2 credit guys off. It's a mandatory upgrade, so this is a deck that kind of we've seen online a little bit right now. I think it won a regional, or at least the store champ. The haven't seen it a lot since outside of that. This one deck though, it's kind of nice. Six, you got to advance it 6 times. It's worth, I believe, 2 points, but you get an extra click right away. If you have a taxed enough server, I could see it working. I suppose in faction, Ian also has Ash. You might have a Caprice or two. I'm sure you figured it out, but Ian's a very careful player, and he tracks both players' clicks. He's tracking the corpse clicks with the black tokens, and he's tracking Tony's clicks with those yellow, which is kind of nice. Sees another Eve again. At this point, I mean Tony couldn't break it, but yeah, Ian is going to get money through his first Eve, so it's not as necessary, I think, to get rid of the second one. I mean, obviously you don't want him rich, but not as important. That first one I still think might have been worth getting rid of. Yeah, there's no mistake on Tony's side. He was sitting at 3 credits as far as I could tell, and then installed that. I don't know if he's used to playing Kate, maybe, or if my mistakes from the first round rubbed off. I think he's getting set up to maybe do archives and then run in and kill that Eli. But now with the another piece of ice in front of it, not really sure. Ian installed another card. I believe we can tell it's the Eve, but if it's not, it's pretty safe to assume. And Tony just does the day job, gives the turn back to Ian. Yeah, looks like it was another Eve. Ian unfortunately runs out of Team Company tokens. Nice, but expensive. Kind of need 2 sets in my opinion. Looks like Ian's got a Janus Bioroid Efficiency Committee, the mandatory upgrade, and I cannot remember the operation he's got there, but it basically lets you you res an installed Bioroid for free, or however much it costs to play the event. Right? It costs 2. I think it costs 2. And then it reses that ice for free. If the runner breaks all the subroutines, you trash the operation and de-res the ice, which is a little nicer than oversight, but it does. That's the 2 credit cost aside, and only work Bioroid, so there's a little give and take. Runs each R&D and no res on the front one. Scores another ABT. We got 4-0. Ian's got 4 points in his hand, and only 1 piece of ice he hasn't res yet, so Tony might start getting aggressive towards HQ. He might assume there aren't. I guess it's pretty safe to assume Ian's holding at least 1. He hasn't gotten anything out this whole game.
Oh, sorry, that was 3 Elder cards. Yeah.
Dirty Laundry's into archives, which is nice. The 3 credit swing plus a Data Sucker token. Data Sucker should have 2. There it goes. Upgrade into the nice token.
Cool. You're out of cool tokens.
Okay, so I'll just compress these.
Yeah.
He's got to make change here.
5.
This is where you really want to start watching your opponent, see what he's doing. This is the Ian does it correctly, but how easy would it be after 4 rounds in a major tournament for someone to start doing this? And all of a sudden you're not really sure what's going on. And actually, in this case, yeah, that's right. Ian does make a mistake. He took the Eve money from both of those, made change, and then took the money again. He was already sitting on quite a lot of credits, so I don't think it would make an actual difference. But I mean, that's an extra 4 credits. That's quite a swing. Installs a third Eve and a new server.
Here. Bit.
You see he's got Corporate Troubleshooter, the promo card there. That was from, what was that, Regionals? I think.
Another card and so this here
Running R&D? Yeah, I mean, if he's not going to res that ice, or I guess he'll res it this time.
HP itchy.
Brings it down so he doesn't have to spend as much money since the dog's pretty inefficient.
I will spend 1 counter, and
Then he spends a. So the one dog takes care of 2 of the subroutines. I believe he spends a click here
click 2.
to get rid of the third one. He spends a click and Quetzal. Sees a Jackson. So he'll trash that. So he spent 3 clicks just to see a Jackson. So now he's definitely thinking that keyhole's not worth it.
Okay, at the end of your turn,
Ian sees his third Eve. Reses that.
5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So let's just
Gotta make change again.
1, 2, 3.
This is where dice would actually be useful. Personally, I hate dice. I used to use them. Went to a tournament and the table got knocked. And all my numbers were skewy after that. Draws for his first click.
Card. Second click. Install this here. Cost me 2. I do 1.
Looks like he put the corporate troubleshooter in there with Eve.
Install that on that server. Upgrade.
I'm pretty sure that was a Janus. Front of it. I guess I don't remember.
I'll run it.
Oh no, that was the terrain.
Okay.
So he was planning on putting something big in front of it, and then he wanted to make that guaranteed hit. Like in that case, if he could have troubleshooted the Janus, that would have been pretty nice. If Tony ran, if Tony ran his hand or Archive twice, and then hit a super Janus.
We'll draw a card.
That was a Jin, which again isn't really going to help him at this point.
Uh, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 4 for 14.
Seems so far what we've seen out of the Ian stack is that it's more of a Glacier style, which Quetzal, in my opinion, doesn't do as well against. And with a fast advance, he might be relying on a lot of cheap, smaller one sub, old cost dice, which Quetzal does fairly well with, but this isn't. And then Ian tanks for a bit and then just takes a credit.
I think he ran
2 credits, I guess.
2 credits. Your turn.
this 3.
The other thing I really like about Ian and his deliberateness, see there you saw he had to make change for that 3, and instead of making change out of his pool, he makes it out of his bank first, and then just puts the correct number into his money pool and the correct number back on the Eve. I think that'd be a really easy place for people to make mistakes, even honest mistakes, would be to just put the 3 into their pool and then take the 1, and obviously that's not a difficult amount of math, but
Card, and let's
I think it is beneficial for people to get in the habit of being a little slower and a little more deliberate.
Pick 1, I'll run HQ.
Okay. Res
See a victor.
2, 3, I'll click pass.
Okay, you want to continue?
So he
I'm
spends his 2 clicks to get through the victor and keeps going into a Heimdall, which will do some damage.
Can't break any of this opportunity.
He can break one of them with Quetzal, but he unfortunately cannot break 2.
So I think that's just 1 brain damage on run.
I think he's going to end the run and then do a brain damage and end the run, but he will click that last brain
That
damage.
card was accidentally.
At least I assume he would.
Alright. And that's an unsuccessful run.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, he clicked, yeah. So he took clicked through one of the brain damages. Broke the other.
Dead. 5.
He clicked through. He couldn't. I'm done. He took a brain damage and he used Quetzal for the other one. And then there's just an end the run. Got another troubleshooter, looks like.
Install this here.
Or that might have been the ugly altar Adonis. I think it's the Adonis because he's cashing in his big chips now. Holding on to plenty of agenda points. Tony tried to get in there. Tries to do another one.
Card, and then sweep for 4.
So out of Ian's 5-card hand, 4 are agendas. But Tony doesn't have enough clicks to get in. He does have a Yogg in his hand, which makes the Marcus. And there you see it. So now he just has to click through Heimdall in the future. Which Quetzal is its best matchup because he can. There he's going in. Click 2, he runs in. 3 and 4 breaks 2 of the Heimdall, and then Quetzal breaks the 3rd. Quetzal's probably the best equipped to deal with the Heimdalls. Sees another ABT. So that's all 3 of them. Ian doesn't have any hope of free ice, although with the amount of big ice he's got out, I don't know if he'd necessarily fire it, considering he doesn't have a. Draws another agenda. He is flooded. Just flooded. And Tony can get into his hand. He draws for click 1. Sees another piece of ice.
Overwrite.
Just takes a credit for click 3. So if Tony can get in there, pretty much guaranteed to win here. Tony runs his hand, right? He's got 1 card out of 5 that are agendas.
2, 3, and Quetzal.
20% chance to see the victor, and he saw. And then just draws.
Draw card.
Ian just totally lucked out. And then mandatory draws the Jackson Howard, which is the card. Ian needs 1 card. He's got, I'd guess, 20-some cards left in his deck. He's got, I would assume, 3 Jacksons, so he's got to see one of them to win. He freaking top decks it. Slap it down and draw like a madman.
Jackson.
Draws ice, which is exactly what he needs. Do it again, and just dump all those agendas out of his hand. Tony could have ended it 1 turn earlier. That's really the thing too, man. I'll get on my high horse. People complain about Jackson Howard, but there's, as the court player, I've been playing. Tim and I have both been playing since before, or since the core set, and before Jackson Howard, man, you just couldn't do anything. You couldn't win if you got flooded. You had to just bluff them into archives like a madman. You could, maybe in faction Ian would have, archive memories, but that doesn't help you if you got to dump them out and then pull them back. But, I do think that Jackson could have been neutral, or at least, and 1 influence still cost everyone an influence, but so mandatory. It just made the game better.
Definitely resident gets you 2
Click 2, Tony runs R&D and sees an Ichi 2, so it's just a gross amount of ice everywhere.
Awesome card. What do I want to do?
He saw Tony has a spoon. He dumped that, or he took that as the brain damage. That was his brain damage card, and it's very bizarre. And I think he even calls out that it was a terrible choice. It shouldn't be in there. It was supposed to be something else, and he grabbed the wrong one. If you can break it with Yogg, it's free. I mean, I guess maybe he could data sucker down a toll booth and then break it with Yogg, and then that would make the spoon worth it. But in general, anything.
And I will.
I don't think he's happy that there's a spoon.
It is a trace of strength 4. So okay.
I wanted to play it so badly in the beginning, but it's like never really had much enough. So that was click 2.
Okay, I'll stick 2 credits. 3.
So Tony ended up taking a second brain damage, lost the keyhole, which he couldn't care less about. So at least the brain damage he's taking isn't hitting cards he's interested in.
Install this here.
Ian's got a pretty nasty, well, I guess not that bad. Tony can get into HQ pretty easy, Victor, and then just 2 clicks. So he does. I don't think that's too big a signal that Ian's doing, but I guess it's definitely something Tony wants to consider. You know, it's spending 3 clicks to get in there, and Ian still doesn't want it in there. So any agenda wins, he must be holding on to something. Tony was holding an I've had worse, which would have been kind of nice to hit that with the brain damage. Get that fires.
One on HQ.
Runs HQ. I guess with the dog up, so he's on the Heimdall too. So yeah, brain damage. Second click is brain damage, end of run, and the third one was end of run. So the first thing the first time he hit the Heimdall, he got rid of one of the brain damages, took the second one, and then the third sub just ended the run.
Yep, and then Quetzal last one, I assume.
I think he's going to do the same thing here.
Should that, oh, right. I'm
Clicks 2 and 3 break subroutines, and then Quetzal breaks in the run. Although it doesn't have to, because it doesn't really matter. Because he'd end up yogging through the markets, but then can't get through the other Heimdall anyway. So HQ is just a beast at this point. 2 Heimdall 2s. Ian really could have just got rid of that markets, I think, when he installed it. But you get a credit for installing with the HB. I guess it's not really necessary. He does have enough sentries and destroyers that he might be able to get that Yogg out, and then it turns markets back on.
I really wanted to trash your
Go ahead if you want.
It's like I should, but you at this point.
So yeah, Ian's holding 1 agenda, it looks like. Project Vitruvius, little 3-2 guy.
1, 2, back.
Both players have been pretty even on money. Ian swings way up, and then he's got really expensive ice.
One draw card.
Tony's taking inventory of what he's got.
2 draw.
Not.
Real special order.
Let's see. He's probably gonna go get a corroder. At least have some way to deal with that stuff. He doesn't have the money now, but he can definitely get money, and then he gets into R&D or archives once. Not a lot of multi-access in Tony's deck, other than the keyhole. That's kind of hurting him.
Okay, 3 clicks.
Obviously, he's got 6 points without multi-access, so some amazing lucky. Really, it seemed like he was just running to make Ian res ice a few times or see what the ice was, and Stole agendas, which is fun.
Sorry, I had 3 brain damage, right?
Yeah, you have 2 brain damage. But you'll
Oh,
take
yeah,
it. right. 1 drop card.
Runs Archives, 3 credits on a Data Sucker token. Oh, come on, Tony, take the token. Tony misses the Data Sucker token, but Ian is nice enough to help him out. Draws on a second click, sees the code gate, Gordian Blade, which is, I guess, his answer if something is outside of Yogg.
Okay.
Ian just takes money and discards a Jin. He's got nothing to go search for, really.
Triple advance.
Oh, no, it's a...
Ian triple advances out, and he's got his mandatory upgrades. Can you see that? So he immediately gets another click, because he does gain that click right away.
So, my special extra bonus click. I'm going
Which he uses to install. I think that is a Adonis software record. Tony gets a David, which is amazing right now. Like, I guess that's one you definitely want to see. Maybe what he was digging for with that, earlier. When someone's got this big a thing here. It might have been worth actually keeping that in your hand and then sneaking into that remote once Ian trying to still get something out. But I guess at this point, Ian could just get a bunch of 3-2s out very easy. Alright, raises the pad campaign, which I guess wasn't the Adonis, it was pad. Which makes a little trip economy. Tony probably not going after that based on his. He's going to just credit up and go through David, I would imagine. Ian slaps down Project of Vitruvius, which gets him a credit, and then he uses 3 of them to score that out. That's the beauty of that mandatory upgrade, is all your 3-2s are scored right out of hand. I mean, you are fast advanced at this point. Without any trickery. Plot would still get you. Tony's going to want destruction, apparently. That'll use up David. So 2 tokens, and Quetzal gets through the first David. I'm sorry, 2 tokens, and he just takes the brain damage. So he gets rid of the 2 and the runs. Yogg runs through Margus. He'll get rid of the other and the run. He will, with the David, he will break a brain damage in the run with Quetzal and then take another brain damage. So he took 2 brain damage on that, got all the way in without spending any clicks. So he's got 3 clicks to spend. If I was him, I might dump all 3 in here. You can always go back in to Archives. You got a pretty good breaker sweep. And he's obviously got a lot of Bioroids. See, he's just dumping 2. With how many Bioroids Ian has, I would totally just do all 3. Because whatever he throws in front of Archives, you can click through in the future. Click 4, he runs back in and sees nothing. Ian, if Ian had anything in his hand, he's scoring it out. So I don't think he was holding too many. Let's see. I think he might have just top decked that 2-point agenda. Had Tony gone into R&D there, he would have gotten that, but that's pretty random. 1 access.
1 draw card.
Ian's got a hand size of 1 at this point. Click 1, he'll draw. Click 2, he draws a Jin, which he doesn't want. He's deciding which one of those cards to get rid of.
1 card.
Ian draws the Adonis. Got a sweeps and weaks in hand. That's a pretty useless card when your opponent has a hand size of 1. Spends 2 clicks advancing. Gives me, I guess I'd throw down the Adonis. No reason not to, unless you want to keep your hand thin in case you draw an agenda. Top decks an agenda for click 3, I think. And then click 4 just takes a credit. Ian's in a good spot. If he gets greedy and draws too much, his hand is a good target. But what are the chances? Ian might be able to scavenge the David. With enough money, Ian could get back in. Everything in that server is either free or a Bioroid.
do a run here.
Okay, I'm going
Tony
to
took a
grab
credit,
turn.
jumps in there, sees the terrain, which is strength 5.
Not doing well for that.
He unfortunately got rid of his data sucker in order to put the David down. I guess that's too bad. It's actually a terrain, a Janus, and then another terrain, so he would need a data sucker token with 2 tokens on it in the future.
What was my first play?
Draw a card, maybe?
But other than that, that's actually not a very bad server to get through. He's got to deal with the Janus, obviously, but
Because I was down to 1 card. It was kind of sucker.
you wouldn't have to worry about 2 turns.
I checked the base layer.
Oh,
I lied. Yag is only 3 strength, so yeah, he'd need 4 tokens on. That's gross. That's real gross.
I'm really regretting running Street Sweep in this deck.
What's that?
I'm really regretting running Street Sweep in this deck.
Yeah, only against me. Oh.
At this point, Net Ready Eyes is out. I don't think Tony is running it. But that was kind of a big theory right now, is that Net Ready Eyes might be able to turn Yog back on in a bunch of these situations. It would bring it up to strength 4, so the turn would still need 1 data sucker, but
And for discarding this card. Go ahead.
it just takes 4 credits.
One draw card. I will gain 2 credits. No, run out. See? Don't score another mandatory upgrades.
Too late.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
For another mandatory upgrades.
Tony's going to get another mandatory upgrade, so he's up to 5 clicks a turn, which is just gross.
5th click.
But that actually lets him draw for 1 and then install a 3-2, and still advance it out. Installs another card. I believe that's a 3-2. So just like that, it's 6-6, and Tony has 1 turn to pull it around. Just disgusting that Ian. I mean, Tony had it. Ian had 5 cards in his hand for it, which were agendas. Easy access into Ian's hand, and that one lone Jackson Howard just pulls Ian back. You see, we haven't even seen another Jackson Howard since. Just incredible. Tony's holding another Project Wanton, but he definitely can't take that much rain damage. Project Wanton Destruction. I don't know what Tony does. I mean, you can't get into any server with the money you have, so either take 3 credits or run archives 3 times for data sucker tokens, which are useful for. But all of his ice or all of his breakers pump 1 credit a turn anyway. What does it really matter? Looks like he takes 3 credits and then runs R&D. I don't know if he took his money. I lost track.
So I'll just break.
I think he did some bad math. But he's gonna get in.
So, I will spend 2 to give you another.
He lets the trace happen.
Maximum hand size.
Which gives him a tag.
Beast. Break.
There he spends all his money to get in
And then I'll spend my
and break the Ichi.
Okay. I will
yeah.
try to trash. Well, no,
But he's gonna lose a program.
trash Corroda.
Ian gets to pick the program to lose. Tony loses that, which isn't actually a bad deal. He still can do a click and a Quetzal to get through,
I didn't hit either. For that moment.
but I think he's out of clicks.
Eli and
Yep, he messed up by 1.
my turn.
Yep.
Tony's already picking his stuff up. He assumes it's over.
For a bit. Install.
Yeah, install for credit
Bit. And triple
and
advance.
then
restore the
triple
turn.
advance for the win. So Ian pulls it off. He comes back from nothing. It was 6-0 on Tony.
If I would have done my math,
Before Tony, 6-0.
Yeah.
I would have chopped that.
Ian glaciered up.
That's
quite nicely. Just bought time with the Jackson Howard from the Heavens.
Exponentially upgrade, so
You gotta play Jackson.
Two of them.
You gotta play it, and you can see. I mean, that's the thing is Ian's deck doesn't even rely on it, but it's just if you get flooded, it's the answer. It's the answer to being flooded.
did you have any agendas on that?
All right, so that is this week. That was match 1, as I mentioned. They obviously played the other side. Tony goes back to his Jinteki flip, but Ian gets to go to Chaos Theory, and we will see that next week, early next week.